Hey everyone. Okay, so I want to talk about psych ed assessments. I've been talking a lot. This camera is not okay. We're lining this up properly. I've been talking a lot about the advanced brain screening and psych ed assessments and diagnosis, and I have parents always commenting, asking, should I get a diagnosis? And I always tell parents first of all, you need to do what you think is right for your child. And weigh the factors and so forth. And that aside, what's most important is not the if I should tell my child about their diagnosis. There's so much fear and anxiety around that, understandably. A lot of parents who've been through the school system themselves and might have struggled. Maybe they didn't even have an official diagnosis, but they knew, they were in a weaker reading group or something like that, know how stigmatizing it can be to be that kid. And so there's, first of all, trauma from the parents. And then there's even parents who didn't go through that are like, I don't want my kid to feel, less than and so forth. Do I tell them about my diagnosis or about their diagnosis? So the number one thing I want to say is it's not if you should tell your child, and I'm not saying you definitely should. You should weigh that as a parent, and anyone who tells you otherwise, needs to honor what is right for one person is not right for every person, and that includes every child. But it's how you talk to them, whether it's about a diagnosis or maybe you can't get a diagnosis or you don't want to get a diagnosis. I have parents right now who, they can't get one because the wait lists are like 2 to 3 years, or they don't want one because that's not the path they want to go. They want to take a different approach. I have parents saying, I know he has dyslexia. I had it. I just want to get the help. So all that aside, number one thing is it's not if, it's how you talk to them. I'm not a huge fan, and this is just my personal opinion, I'm not a huge fan of telling a child you have something with the word disorder or disability in it. And the reason for that is I just feel that it can make kids feel broken. I just, for sure, some of these things can be disorders. I don't want to sugarcoat a reading difficulty, but I think that it's important to consider the fact that these terms can be very impactful on our kids, and what some kids can kind of roll with it. Some kids it's like, oh man, I feel like I finally understand what's going on. And other kids, it can be really traumatic. And so you need to first of all consider what's going on with my kid. What age are they? What are they able to handle? How do I need to talk to my kid that is age appropriate? How do I talk to them with sensitivity, particularly if they're a super sensitive kid? And how you frame it is most important. And so what I think is most important is if you do pursue that diagnosis, is that you're not just focusing on you have this problem, you can't do this, and all of this stuff, and all that feels like is broken, and focus instead on this is why you are so good. For example, I'm talking to a dyslexic kid, and I truly genuinely mean this. I'm not saying this to just puff them up just, in a fake kind of way. A lot of dyslexic kids have incredible visual spatial skills. They have an incredible ability with parents often with their kids younger say they're just can do anything on Legos, or they have incredible art skills. They can build anything. They have engineering brain, all kinds of stuff like that. So you want to say you have this ability here, or you have an incredible ability to empathize, and you have incredible social skills and all of that type of stuff. You want to focus on that, and then for sure say, and talk about this is why you're struggling with this, because you're so darn good at this. That's honestly the way I like to frame it. And that it's just like a weak muscle, like you've overused your right arm, but now your left arm is not as strong, and so forth. I mean, that's overly simplistic, but sometimes that can be a really easy, clear way to talk to kids about it. So that's what I like to do. So basically you want to be framing it in a way that's going to give them with a sense of hope and understanding of why they are the way they are in a positive way. And so also it's important, and I hope that whoever, you did your psych-ed evaluation, that, you're leaving with a sense of hope and empowerment, as opposed to this is I was talking to a mom recently, and I hear some great stories from people who've worked with, psychologists who do psych-ed assessments, and they have great stories about how helpful it was and meaningful it was and so forth. I did hear a story recently of a mom who said, it was like everything was broken and there was no positive in there. So if that happens, you want to just make sure that when you're the one talking to your child, because you'll probably be the first one talking to them. It's not like usually that conversation is happening, when you hear the diagnosis at the same time. But when you're talking to your child, just make sure that you don't frame it in the same way, that you frame it in a way that's hopeful and impactful, in a empowering kind of way that isn't going to leave your child feeling the way you did. And so what that might involve is you having to process emotionally first if you feel you need to do that. For some people, they're like, no, the psychoed assessment gave me so much insight. It was like a breath of fresh air. It's like, now I have something to work with. And that's fantastic. But if for some reason the diagnosis came as a total surprise and it was, kind of like, oh man, then, just make sure you process that emotionally before you talk to your child, so that you're talking to them from this kind of grounded place where your child really feels like they can, look up to you and lean on you and so forth. So the other thing is, you want to make sure you know what to address first. So that means that if you find out in the psychoed assessment that there's issues with auditory processing and visual processing and working memory and so forth, like if you haven't been told already, that's the thing you want to find out, is what do I need to focus on first? Because you don't want to just jump into a reading program if you find out your child has dyslexia and has visual processing issues and working memory issues. It's going to be, if there's visual processing issues, it's going to be really hard to address the reading and improve the reading if they have visual processing issues. And that being said, if they have visual processing issues and they go right to vision therapy, then that's going to be tricky if those reflexes are not integrated first, those primitive reflexes that I so often talk about. And so that's why there's one vision therapist who refers clients to me, often saying, you need to work on the reflexes first before you come to see me. So again, it's that right action, right time that I talk about, that we do in our program and so forth, that you want to do. So that being said, I know that right now there is a lot of people who are very concerned. They are on insane waiting lists to see a psychologist that are 2-3 years. Some can't even get on a list because the waiting lists are full. So what you want to do is consider, what is my next best step then? Maybe waiting for a diagnosis is not the thing to not that you shouldn't get one if you feel that's the right thing to do, but maybe just not waiting and going, what do I need to focus on right now? And so that's where the advanced brain screening can be a really nice way to fill the gap. You can basically find out, number one, as you know, my approach as an integrative educational therapist is to bring it all together. So number one, is there factors like nutritional deficiencies, gut health, toxicity levels, anything like that, food sensitivities that could be playing a role? Number two, what is weak? Are there retained reflexes? Is there poor auditory processing? Is there poor visual tracking? Is there issues with, working memory, all of that type of stuff? What's going on? Is there brain hemisphere imbalance? So what you want to do is you want to find out what's weak, what's underdeveloped, and so forth, and then you know how to kind of move forward in terms of next steps. And what's fantastic right now is the advanced brain screening is on promo for $197 instead of $497. That's a huge savings. I'm basically giving you a one-on-one for free. And so when you do the advanced brain screening, you're going to do that with your child at home, and then you're going to meet with me at the one-on-one to go through it further, address anything that you couldn't do on your own. I'm there to support you through that, and then go over the results. What does this mean, and what is the next step or the best step in terms of a plan of action to getting your child, to rise to their full potential, to basically overcome their challenges, so that you don't have to wait 2 years, 3 years, and so forth. Or maybe you've got the diagnosis and you're like stuck with the tutor, like a mom who told me the other day, and realized there was visual processing issues that no amount of tutoring is going to fix, right? And tutors are amazing. They do incredible work, but everyone is limited in some way within their profession. So you've got to know how to bring it together and what to do first. So advanced brain screening still on promo for a little while longer till the end of March. Link will be in the comments below, and then don't hesitate to send me a DM if you have any questions about that. Thanks for watching. Have a fantastic day.